So picture this. It's the 95th minute at BMO Field in Toronto.
Oh, man, the tension at that point.
Right. I mean, the rain is just absolutely pouring down. You've got like 43,000 fans screaming their lungs out.
Yeah, the atmosphere was unreal.
Totally. And this completely exhausted Ghana squad has just stolen a buzzer beater victory. I mean, it literally sparks these citywide street parties. It is just pure, unfiltered football magic.
It really is. But the crazy thing is, at that exact same moment, there's a totally different scene playing out thousands of miles away.
Yeah, a much darker one.
Exactly. You got an official World Cup referee sitting in a sterile, fluorescent-lit airport interrogation room.
Wow.
He's being detained, his belongings are being searched, and he's about to be put on a flight right back to where he came from.
It's just such a wild split-screen reality.
It really is. You're watching a tournament that, on one hand, is beautifully unifying, but on the other, is profoundly fractured.
So welcome to this custom deep dive. We are taking the stack of reporting, match data, and geopolitical analysis you provided about the 2026 World Cup. And our mission today is really to unpack this bizarre dichotomy.
Yeah, we're really zeroing in on Group L's opener here.
Exactly. Because on one side of the screen, you have this euphoric on-field drama. But then on the other side, you got travel bans, high-profile visa denials, detained athletes, international legal disputes, the works.
Which obviously requires us to navigate some incredibly complex real-world issues alongside the standard sports analysis.
Definitely. And, before we really get into the mechanics of those legal and border controversies, we should probably lay our cards on the table for you listening.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Our mission today is not to take a side on the strict immigration laws that are causing this friction.
Right, whether we're talking about, U.S. Homeland Security directives or Canadian border policies.
Exactly. We are strictly here as your impartial guides. We're just breaking down the factual reporting you've provided to really understand how these geopolitical forces are actively colliding with the tournament.
The goal is just to figure out the how and the why behind the headlines. How does a team survive a 94-minute onslaught on the pitch?
Yeah.
And why does the machinery of a massive global tournament completely break down at an airport border checkpoint?
So let's start the pitch, because Ghana versus Panama was, well, if you were sitting in the stands for the first 90 minutes of this game, you were probably tearing your hair out.
Oh, absolutely. The reporting paints a picture of a completely lopsided affair early on.
Yeah, I mean, Panama was just swarming them. They were dictating the pace, creating all these dangerous chances.
Right. Cecilia Waterman and Christian Martinez were practically living in Ghana's penalty box.
Exactly. And Ghana didn't register a single shot in the first half. Zero. Their goalkeeper, Lawrence Atizigi, is just making these desperate, crucial saves just to keep the score level. And he actually takes such a beating that he has to be subbed off at halftime after a massive collision.
It was a brutal physical toll. I mean, Panama came out operating on pure adrenaline, right? They were looking for their first ever World Cup point.
Right. They had a lot to prove.
Yeah, and they were implementing this really aggressive, high-pressing system, basically forcing Ghana to absorb wave after wave of attack deep in their own half.
But, I have to play devil's advocate here.
Okay, go for it.
Because after the match, Ghana's coach, Carlos Queiroz, called this a tactical masterclass.
He did, yeah.
He claimed they, quote, won the game with their brains by deliberately letting Panama control the ball. So, I mean, is Queiroz actually a tactical genius for this, or is he just claiming credit for getting incredibly lucky?
Wow.
Because if Panama finishes just one of those early point-blank chances, his so-called masterclass looks like a catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a really fair challenge. And, the line between genius and disaster in tournament football is incredibly thin.
Super thin.
But if you look at Queiroz's pedigree, the intentionality becomes a bit clearer. I mean, this is his 5th successive World Cup as a head coach.
Wow, 5th?
Yeah, which actually ties him with the legendary Bora Milutinovic. So he is a master of tournament survival.
Okay, so he knows what he's doing.
Exactly. The mechanics of what Ghana did, playing this super low defensive block, it's psychologically and physically exhausting for the attacking team.
Because they just keep hitting a brick wall.
Right. You allow the opponent to have the ball in non-threatening areas, but you completely clog the penalty box. Panama was expending enormous amounts of cardiovascular energy just trying to pick the lock.
Oh, so it's like a rope-a-dope strategy in boxing.
That is exactly what it is. Queiroz basically banked on the fact that by the 85th or 90th minute, Panama's legs would be entirely gone.
And their defensive discipline actually holds. So you have like 94 minutes of just absorbing punishment.
Yeah.
And then comes the 95th minute, the absolute dying seconds of stoppage time.
The turning point.
Panama is totally overextended. They're physically spent, just like Queiroz predicted. And substitute Brandon Thomas-Asante finds this little pocket of space down the left flank.
Yeah, he spots the opening.
He darts forward, squares the ball across the box, and 20-year-old Caleb Urenki just taps it home. A 1-0 victory right at the buzzer for his first ever international goal.
I mean, the presence of mind required to execute that counterattack is staggering.
Sure.
Your lungs are burning, your muscles are cramping.
Seriously.
But because you've adhered to the tactical structure for 94 minutes, you have just enough residual organization to punish an exhausted opponent when they finally make a mistake.
It absolutely broke Panama's hearts.
Oh, completely crushed them.
And the emotional release in Toronto was off the charts. We're talking nearly 43,000 fans inside BMO Field, but outside, the party literally spilled into the streets.
I saw the footage. It was wild.
Yeah, Sankofa Square at Yonge and Dundas was shut down by tens of thousands of Ghana supporters just dancing in the rain.
Right.
And there's this fascinating cultural detail from earlier in the day at the Tribe Ghana Fun Fest.
Oh, the king's blessing.
Yes. King Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, the traditional ruler of the Asante Kingdom in Ghana, was physically present in Toronto to give his blessing to the fans.
And that cultural anchoring is huge. I mean, for the diaspora in Toronto, this isn't just like a celebrity sighting.
No, not at all.
The king's presence carries profound historical and cultural weight. The reporting highlights that a lot of fans viewed his blessing as an absolute guarantee of victory.
It adds this layer of almost mythological destiny to the match, doesn't it?
It really does.
Which is an amazing transition to something I was wondering about. Because fans look to things like a king's blessing because fundamentally they want to feel some sense of control over this chaotic, totally unpredictable game.
Right, human nature.
Exactly. When a 95th minute winner happens after your team was battered all game, it feels so statistically improbable that our brains just try to find a reason. Which brings us to, honestly, the weirdest viral moment of the tournament.
I bet exactly where you're going with this.
Something that completely hijacked the digital conversation.
You're referring to the white powder.
The white powder.
Yeah.
Television cameras catch a Ghana supporter in the stands, pulling out a handful of this white powder and blowing it into the air during the match.
Right.
And almost instantly, social media takes this 5-second clip, completely rips it out of context, and ignites this massive global speculation about like traditional rituals or black magic being deployed to secure the win.
It was everywhere online.
It was. Are we just hardwired as fans to look for supernatural explanations when the math doesn't make sense?
Oh, we absolutely are. I mean,
Yeah.
Superstition is the bedrock of global football fan culture.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether it's a fan wearing a specific unwashed jersey or, intricate pre-match routines, we constantly build narratives to explain the improbable.
Right.
But what the documentation makes explicitly clear here is that there is absolutely zero verified evidence that this powder was part of any ritual.
Zero.
Its purpose is completely unknown.
Yet, if you logged onto the internet after the match, Carlos Queiroz's 94-minute defensive architecture was entirely ignored.
Completely overshadowed.
Yeah, the internet decided the credit belonged to a fan blowing dust in the stands.
It's wild, but it really demonstrates how the digital lens distorts physical reality. Like a random, unverified gesture in the stands becomes a massive global talking point simply because it fits the dramatic narrative people crave.
It's way more exciting than a low block.
Exactly. Way more exciting than the dry, tactical reality of defensive organization.
But, here's the massive pivot. Because while fans are looking for magical control in the stands, and the internet is obsessing over imaginary off-field distractions, the real control over this tournament is being brutally exercised at the border.
Yes. This is where it gets heavy.
There is a very real legal situation that actually altered Ghana's starting lineup.
Right.
Thomas Partey, their vice captain and arguably one of their most important players, was completely missing from this victory.
He was. And this is really where the romanticism of a global tournament crashes headfirst into the reality of international law.
Yeah.
The Canadian government explicitly denied his visa, barring him from entering the country.
And I'm looking at this thinking, wait, FIFA usually bulldozes host nations?
Oh, they do.
They demand tax exemptions, they dictate infrastructure, they essentially operate like a sovereign entity. So how did Canada just say no? Like, what is the actual mechanism keeping him out?
Well, it comes down to admissibility standards. The reporting indicates that Partey is currently awaiting trial in Britain on multiple charges of rape and sexual assault. Now, he has pleaded not guilty.
Right.
However, under Canadian immigration law, pending serious criminal charges in another jurisdiction can render a foreign national inadmissible.
Wow.
Yeah, regardless of whether a conviction has actually occurred yet.
And the Ghanaian government fought this, right?
They did.
They officially protested, arguing that since the trial hasn't happened, the presumption of innocence should stand. I read that Partey's legal team even went to court for emergency relief right before kickoff.
They tried, yeah, but a Canadian federal judge dismissed that bid. The judge basically ruled that the immigration authorities were entirely within their sovereign rights to deny entry based on their established vetting criteria.
So it's like, think of FIFA like a massive universal software application.
Okay, like that.
They want the rules of the game, the player access, and the broadcast rights to be exactly the same no matter where in the world the tournament is played.
Right, uniform experience.
But ultimately, they still have to run that software on the host country's hardware, meaning its physical borders and its legal system. And right now, the Canadian operating system just blocked FIFA's software from running properly.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. It really is. And FIFA actually had to publicly concede this point.
Really?
Yeah, their official statement essentially says, quote, "The host government ultimately determines who receives a visa and is admitted into the country."
Wow.
It is a stark admission of their limits. I mean, FIFA might run the football, but they absolutely do not run the borders.
And, if you're looking at Partey's situation, you might think it's an isolated legal anomaly.
Just a one-off.
Right. But if we expand the lens, his visa denial is just a microscopic fraction of a much larger systemic breakdown happening across the border in the United States.
Oh, absolutely.
This hardware-software clash is happening on an industrial scale.
The logistical friction in the U.S. is honestly unprecedented for a modern sporting event.
It's crazy.
The documentation details these sweeping travel bans, implemented by the U.S. administration that target citizens of 39 different countries.
39.
39. And this isn't just about players with pending legal issues. This explicitly prevents ordinary fans from participating nations, places like Haiti, Iran, Ivory Coast, and Senegal, from getting visas to attend the matches.
And the mechanics of how they are restricting these fans are wild. It wasn't just flat-out bans in all cases. Let's talk about the visa bond program.
Right, the visa bonds.
How does a visa bond even function in this context?
Well, a visa bond is essentially a massive financial ransom meant to ensure compliance.
Okay.
The U.S. government was demanding up to $15,000 from fans of certain African nations just to secure a temporary visitor visa.
$15,000?
Yeah. And the logic, from a Homeland Security perspective, is to create a financial disincentive for overstaying the visa.
But in reality, it's just an exclusionary tactic. I mean, if you're an ordinary fan from Senegal or the Ivory Coast who has already saved up for flights, match tickets, hotels, demanding an additional $15,000 bond effectively makes it mathematically impossible for you to attend.
Exactly. It's a massive barrier. Now, the reporting does note that the $15,000 requirement was temporarily dropped in May of 2026 for fans who could actually prove they held a valid match ticket.
Yeah, well, that's something at least.
It is, but the broader travel bans for countries like Iran and Haiti remain firmly intact.
But, if you're listening to this, you're probably wondering, if whole nations are banned from traveling, how are the teams themselves getting into the U.S.?
Yeah, the logistics of the teams.
Because you can't host a World Cup if the teams aren't allowed on the pitch. The State Department must have created carve-outs, right?
Yes, on paper they did. The U.S. State Department created specific exemptions for athletes, coaches, and essential support staff.
Okay, so they get a pass.
Well, this goes back to your software-hardware analogy.
Uh-huh.
An exemption signed in Washington doesn't automatically translate to smooth clearance at an airport terminal.
Why not?
Because Customs and Border Protection agents operate under strict Homeland Security directives, not sports diplomacy memos. The enforcement on the ground has been incredibly chaotic.
Chaotic doesn't even cover it. I mean, look at the specific incidents outlined in the research. You have Iraqi striker Emin Hussein.
Oh, that case.
He flies into Chicago's O'Hare Airport, presumably with his official paperwork in perfectly good order, and he gets pulled into secondary screening.
Right.
He is detained and questioned for 7 hours.
7 hours.
7 hours in an interrogation room. An Olympic Committee official stated that U.S. authorities even seized and searched his phone before finally allowing him entry.
I mean, that kind of intensive search scrutinizing digital communications, interrogating travel histories, It's standard procedure for certain security flags.
Sure.
But it completely disrupts the operational readiness and the psychological state of a professional athlete who is just arriving for a global tournament.
Mm.
And Hussein's case was actually a successful entry, eventually.
Right, eventually, because others didn't make it through at all. Let's look at the Somali referee, Omar Arten.
Yeah, this one is shocking.
He is officially selected by FIFA. He is part of the tournament's critical infrastructure.
Right.
He holds a valid U.S. visa. He even travels on a diplomatic passport.
All his ducks in a row.
Exactly. But he lands at Miami International Airport, and he is denied entry based on unspecified vetting concerns. They literally marched him onto a flight back to Istanbul, and he missed the World Cup completely.
It really exposes the profound vulnerability of the multi-nation hosting model.
Yeah, it does.
Because when you rely on the infrastructure of a nation that places stringent security and immigration controls above absolutely all other international agreements, the tournament's integrity is compromised.
Definitely.
You have delegations from Uzbekistan and Uruguay undergoing intense searches by narcotics dogs upon arrival. This isn't just inconvenient, you know. It creates an atmosphere of hostility rather than hospitality.
Which totally shatters the marketing illusion.
Oh, completely.
The slogan for the tournament is, "Football unites the world." But how are you uniting the world when the players, the referees, and the fans are being intercepted and deported at the gate? It's like throwing a massive house party, but the bouncers won't let half the guests through the front door.
That's a perfect way to put it. And, you know, we cannot overlook the impact this has on the competitive fairness of the actual matches.
Good point.
The president of the National Committee of Elephant Supporters of Ivory Coast is quoted explicitly stating that the U.S. government aggressively denied visas to their fans.
Right.
Which meant thousands of ordinary supporters had to completely scrap their travel plans.
So you basically have a situation where certain nations are essentially playing their matches behind closed doors without their passionate fan bases while their opponents might enjoy full stadium support.
Exactly.
It fundamentally alters the acoustic environment, the momentum, and the soul of the match.
It creates a bifurcated tournament. There are the nations whose passports grant them seamless access to the joy and shared experience of the World Cup. And then there are the nations whose passports subject them to interrogations, deportations, and empty stands.
Wow. Let's try to bring this all together.
Okay.
We started by looking at the sheer, unbridled joy of Group L's opener, the exhausting tactical warfare that led to a 95th-minute winner for Ghana in Toronto.
Right.
We talked about the cultural resonance of a king's blessing and how the internet desperately searches for magic, like a fan with white powder, to explain the beautiful, unpredictable nature of the game.
But as we've unpacked the broader context, we see that all of this beautiful on-field chaos is actually playing out inside a rigid, highly securitized geopolitical cage.
Yeah, it really is.
Whether it's Thomas Party's legal battles, keeping him out of Canada, or sweeping travel bans and 7-hour airport detentions in the U.S.
The real world is refusing to be paused for a football tournament.
Exactly.
The bouncers at the door are increasingly deciding who even gets to hear the music. It forces us to look past the marketing slogans and recognize the friction between global aspirations and national sovereignty.
It's a stark reminder that a football pitch might have identical dimensions everywhere in the world, but the borders surrounding that pitch are entirely unequal.
Which leaves us with something pretty deep to ponder as this tournament progresses. When the final whistle blows and the trophy is lifted, we really have to ask ourselves, in an era defined by strict border controls, sweeping travel bans, and intense national security, who really hosts a global event?
That's the big question.
Does the unifying power of the sport temporarily conquer the borders, or do the borders ultimately dictate the sport? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.